Hi guys, the reason I made this video right here is to focus on a mistake that I've kind of seen a little bit throughout the grading of our tests. And I want to address it so you guys are able to clarify these before the major test. Here I say reciprocal of negative numbers. Here is an equation that is mostly solved. But the last step is typically to get the x by itself, so our answer is just x, or a variable, is equal to just a number. The way we do that is we take the number 2 in this case and think about what number times 2. So we've got 2 times what number will give me 1. In this case, we know that it would be 1/2 because 2 times 2 is 2 times 1 is 2, and the 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. So in this case, I would multiply both sides by 1/2. And this is just the way we've been kind of doing things. The shortcut to show that work would be just 2x times 1/2, and negative 12 times 1/2 will give me this. Lastly, I have x is equal to negative 6. The reason I made this video is sometimes students tend to solve their equations a little bit different than the way I solve them. So they would get to a point in their equation where they have, let's say, negative 3x is equal to 9. For this particular problem, you would take negative 3 times what number is equal to 1. Well, first off, I know that a negative times a negative will give me a positive, so I know it's going to be negative. And the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. When I do this, I end up just rewriting it a little bit, kind of like a negative 3 over, and since this is negative 1/3, negative 3 in the bottom, and that is negative divided by negative is positive, 3 divided by 3 is 1. The other example that I've kind of noticed is, what if I have negative 1m is equal to, let's say, 6. In this case, what number times negative 1 is 1? So I have negative 1 times what number is equal to positive 1. Obviously, many of you can already see that my answer is going to be negative 1, but I kind of like to write it as negative 1 over 1. So when I show my work, it just looks like negative 1 over negative 1 and 6 over negative 1. That gives me m is equal to negative 6. The common mistake that I was seeing is if they had, for example, on this one, negative 3, students were multiplying by positive 1/3. Same thing here, they were multiplying this, x is equal to negative 6. They were multiplying by negative 1 to get x is equal to positive 6. But just keep in mind, the negative times the negative is a positive, and hopefully that helps you out with these problems, okay?